You are welcome to yet another session of computer introduction to computer maintenance and troubleshooting. In our previous class, we have discussed on the computer itself, computer systems, component of a computer system, looking at the input, the output, the storage device, looking at the RAM, looking at the SSD, looking at the features of around our computer system, as well as the hardware, software, hard copy, soft copy. This is what we have looked into in our last or previous class. So in this session today, we are going to discuss on the basic technology or basic troubleshooting steps involved in computer maintenance and troubleshooting. Also, we are going to look at the common hardware problems that we usually encounter in our day-to-day operation with the system or interaction with the system. We are also going to look at the diagnostic tools that we use in taking care of our system, as well as the techniques involved in carrying out the maintenance. And also we are going to look at the preventive and the corrective maintenance or measures. Also, we will not forget about the hardware upgrades. How are we going to upgrade hardware? What types of hardwares upgrade do we have, and the rest. And then we are going to look at the safety precautions while carrying all these activities and the best practice of hardware maintenance. I remain Mr. Bamanga Mahmoud Ahmad, your guide this moment on Soft Skills Academy. First of all, we look at when we said computer maintenance or when we said computer troubleshooting, we will not just go ahead and start computer troubleshooting without a clear definition of a computer maintenance. Computer maintenance is a process or is a techniques that we use in order to make our hardware and software, that is the computer system entirely, to what? To work properly or smoothly without any fault or any difficulties. So in our computer maintenance, we have what we call in our computer maintenance, these categorized into two. We have what we call preventive measures and corrective measures. We have preventive maintenance, and then we have corrective maintenance. So these are the two categories of computer computer maintenance that we are having. We say this is the process of making our system to perform or run smoothly or work perfectly without any hitches or any fault. So in this, we said it categorized into two. We have preventive and corrective measures. So where in preventive measures or preventive maintenance, this is the process of correcting your system or fixing your system before it got to develop a problem. That's preventive measures. You now perform these preventive measures in order to what? To prevent the system from developing any difficulties. Assuming it's just like our normal cars, while we are going, we usually observe the dashboard and the rest. If there is any sign of an alarm, so maybe it's engine oil or something related, you now stop nearby and get your engine oil to fill up. So the same thing in conducting or performing your computer maintenance. While working with these systems, you might come across any difficulties or hitches while working with this. So this is a sign that is telling you something is getting too wrong. Like, say example, you're starting your system, it's getting too slow for it to boot up. You know, definitely this system is about to develop a problem. Or while starting the system, you realize that it's beeping a sound, unusual sound. So you know, definitely this system is about to develop a problem. Or while transferring system file from one place to another, or folder to another, or file to another, you realize still that system is too slowish in nature. So definitely it's about to develop a problem. So in this case or a scenario, you need to perform or conduct what we call preventive maintenance. That you are going to stop this very equipment from developing a fault. So at this phase, we said corrective maintenance is a process of fixing the problem that has already been occurred to the system or component, or already fault component. So in this scenario, once we are dealing with the corrective maintenance, so we are definitely dealing with the troubleshooting. So and our troubleshooting now is the process of identifying and correcting the fault that has already been developed by the system or already been developed by the component you are in questions. So that is what the troubleshooting is. So and in this troubleshooting, we have basic steps or the basic troubleshooting step or methodology in which we are going to follow in order to fix our system or to fix our component that has already been developed a fault. So here, number one of these steps are we have what we call you should identify. That is identification. Just like any other problem, if you have, you first of all need to identify what type of issue are you having, and so on and so forth. So number one, we have identify the problem or problems. Identify the problem or problems. That is what we have in number one. So in this phase, what is required of you is to what to collect information or to gather information regarding the specific information about the faulty equipment. So in this very phase, you are expected to ask this certain question like when or what types of error message is the system displaying before it got to develop this problem, and when does the problems occur. This might also help you to come out with a solution. And what was that person is doing with the system before this system got to develop this problem that presented before you, and what was he doing? What was the response? Was the system freezing or just like that? It just developed that very particular problem like that. So that is number one. Number two, you should be able to isolate the what? The problem. That is, you now isolate the causes. What causes the problem? Is it hardware or software related problem? Isolate the problem or the cause. So now, is this system that the developed problem now, is it a hardware related problem or a software related problem? So you need to isolate this particular problem. In order to determine this, you need to try certain applications, or what we call, you boot the system from what? From a safe mode. So usually if you're booting your system, you will see a certain information displaying on the screen. So you might decide to press F8 continuously. Once you're pressing this F8 continuously, so it will go to take you now to what? To safe mode. So that is number two. Then the number three, you check the obvious. Like in this, you check the obvious is like you make sure all the devices are corrected. Number three, you should what? Number three, you check the obvious. You should check the obvious. So in this case, you should make sure that all what it takes, like the power pack, the power cable, and what have you, they are all connected to the systems. So all the keyboard, all the mouse, all the RAMs are properly connected. So that is what they mean by obvious. You should face in all these preliminary stuffs that you know, like it's just like a primary preliminary investigation that you are taking place in your day-to-day cases. So all these obvious things you need to go around and check them, make sure that they are really connected to the system. The power is also there on the system, and all the peripheral functionalities. So make sure that they are what, correctly connected to that particular system. So now you look at what we call you rehearse or you research on the problem. Now now in this research the problem, should in case if you don't know this very particular option is not necessarily applicable here, like research the problem. So that means if this particular problem that presents before you, you are not familiar with it. So you need to explore certain resources available online. So you need to go and check and make sure that yes, the knowledge they have there is up to date, and this can be able to solve your problem. So we usually do that. Like in the case of I know there was a time we had a printer. So that printer, it was like the toner has been exhausted to the extent that the system cannot even boot. So we know how to what, refill in the toner. We refill the toner, restore the drum unit, the toner unit, and what have you. But the system cannot pick up for what? Photocopying or scanning or printing. So we now need to what? We don't know how it goes about this one because it's not obvious to us. It was something like a new experience. We don't know how it goes about. So all we need to do what is to go over internet, search for resources, precisely we went over YouTube, we searched for that particular problem. This is what we are facing, and this is what have you. So, and we found one good video that helps our purpose. And with that, all they want is that you should let that system to be what, warming up for a good number of minutes to the 30. So you need to allow your system to what? To keep processing, keep booting for what? Good 30 minutes for it to pick up. And we came back, we started the copier, and it was quite amazing. So the system was long, the photocopier was quite functioning well. So you see, this is a way of what? Researching your problem. You research, you advance your what? Your knowledge. So after this, we have what we call implement a solution. So with this now, we believe you have come what? You realize what has taken place. You implement, you implement the solution. You implement this solution. So after you implement the solution, that means you have identified the problem, you do whatever things you have been able to do. Now you implement your solution. After you implement the solution, you are required to document. You document the process in which you follow. This is the best practice you can do. It's not just like you are done, document the solution. It's not just like a normal routine that you usually do. Once you are done with fixing the system, and that's all, you let the whole process goes. So you need to document this. That is why you are going to have a master journal or a problem journal. That problem journal will probably help you one day. They will come with the system. You try. Your brain will hurt like you cannot even remember what has taken place. But with your journals, you can be able to identify all these process that we have been saying on this board. So I believe this process of computer maintenance and troubleshooting, looking at the types of maintenance, we have preventive, corrective, the troubleshooting, and the troubleshooting processes. So the next thing we are going to look like common hardware problems. What are the common hardware problems that we usually encounter in our day-to-day operation with the system? So this is also what we are going to look at. So the common problems that we usually encounter with this system is like no power. There is no power, there is overheating, there is boot failure, there is blue screen, there is a slow performance, peripherals not working, and the rest. So we have a common hardware problem that we usually found is one, we have no power. This no power, like the power is not even like going through the system. So in this, you need to check your power supply very well. Like you start with the source of the power, you look at the power connections, like the power cables connected between the source and the what? The system, and you look at the power button, you make sure that yes, this is really taking the system, taking or they've carried or transmitted the power into the system. So if they are not transmitting the power into the system, it means definitely the problem is not from the system, rather is from the source. So if definitely they are now taking the system, the power to the system line, you need to what? To go and look for what? Your power pack. What's really happened with the power pack? If it is a laptop, you look for the charger, another charger, you check it very well. If it doesn't, if it is not related with the power, with the charger, it's just a desktop computer, you look for the power pack, you now look for the alternative power pack to replace that faulty one in order for it to pick. And this most especially in laptops, these issues usually affect both. So once your board is having difficulty, so definitely your system cannot also be able to power out well. So we have issue of overheating. Overheating. This overheating has to do with what? With your fan. You first of all need to what? Need to clean the processor fan. Now we have like on a desktop, most all these both the laptop, the desktop, the pro, what have you, they have what they call processor fan. So make sure that the processor fan is working. Make sure and the processor fan is not also dusty. So you need to what? Provide a good ventilation to the system. Like to say if you're using a laptop system, you need to provide a something in order to what? Lift your system a little bit up so that ventilation can be able to what? Pass across the system and what have you. So you also need to what? Ensure that the airflow is also flowing in order to allow those ventilation as we mentioned earlier, and then you can reapply thermal paste should in case if that we have that thermal paste is just like our toothpaste that they usually apply in between the processor fan and the processor. If you're opportune to what? Dismantle a system or lose a system, you can see if you remove the processor fan, on top of this your CPU, that is the processor, you will see one whitish white powder or white dust on it. So it's a what? It's a thermal paste. They what? Put it in between this processor fan and the processor in order what? To provide a very cool condition to what? To the processor. Once the what? This processor fan is what? Is pushing. So when this processor fan is blowing air or airflow to the what? On top of the processor fan is also helping the processor to absorb the heat on the processor. That's what they mean by this thermal paste on the CPU. So this very hardware problem is also familiar to us, and our system usually goes through this process. So we have also another common problem that is called a boot failure. So your system will fail to check the BIOS, that is basic input and output settings. So the boot order. So we have the boot order. Usually we are not paying much attention to this boot order when our system is what? Is booting up. So, but this boot order is also helpful when you are what? When you are trying to boot your system from a specific drive. We know by default our system are booting right from the HDD or the primary HDD or primary SSD. We know we have primary. Primary is the one that the system is booting from it. The secondary is just there to support the system as a backup driver or a backup storage. But where this operating system is being installed on is the primary hard disk that is going to be boot from. So if you are trying to format the system using a CD plate that you want to reinstall another operating system, you can change this boot order in order for your system to boot from that CD-ROM or DVD-ROM. So that's what they mean by boot order. And also you look for the hard drive connection. If the system is not booting, it might be probably the system might slightly check up or it fell down, so you need to look the proper connection between the hard drive and your motherboard. You can look for the SATA cable or the IDE cable, whether it's properly connected, because it's the one that is carrying light from the motherboard to that very HDD or SSD for it to function well. So this fault is also peculiar, it's also familiar to us, so we can be able to deal with this in future. So we have slow performance. Your system, number 3, we said boot failure. Sorry, we did not that boot failure. Number 3, we have slow performance. So our system will now stop performing effectively. Slow performance, our system might slow to perform very effectively and fast. So in this scenario, you can monitor the CPU, the RAM, and the hard drive usage. So it's probably your hard drive usage is filled up, so you need to go there and remove and then delete unwanted files. That is why in the best practice, people are advised to keep on their daily routine. Like if you are done for the work of today, tomorrow you look for the unwanted files that you don't need them necessarily. You remove them. So you monitor your CPU processes. So this can be done by going to your task manager and then look at the processes. Make sure all the processes are up and doing. So that's how you can go about this. So if it now requires you to upgrade the RAM, upgrade the processor, or probably upgrade the hard disk and what have you, you can be able to do that in order to get rid of this slow performance of your system. So peripherals not working like say printer, like say monitors, like keyboard, all these sort of devices that are connected to the system are peripherals to the system. We already know that. So if such components or peripherals are not working properly, so you can now sit down and see whether they are properly connected. If they are properly connected, then it means probably maybe the connection cables are not functioning well, or the device themselves, or is it the card, that's the driver card, that is sending signals to the operating system or what have you. So you also need to look at this process and go about how you can be able to solve them. So the next one we are going to look at the diagnostic tools and then the techniques. What are the diagnostic tools that you are going to use in performing this troubleshooting? What are you going to use? So number 1, we have what we call visual inspection. This visual inspection is going to examine the component for physical damage. So you are going to have a visual inspection, like that is diagnostic tools and techniques. We said we have visual inspection. Number 1, that you are going to look at the component, component you have identified during your isolation of the problem. So that very component you identify as faulty component, you are going to look at it using your visual effect. Is that very component damaged to the point that it cannot be repaired, or is it damaged physically? Does it lose connection, or there is a sign of water on it, or a spill of water or a drop of water on that very component. So you need to what? Apply these very techniques. The first one is the what? Visual what? Visual inspection. You are going to inspect this very component in order to make sure that the component is not damaged, the component doesn't have any connection issue, the component doesn't have any drop of or spill of water on it. So this is very, very important. You need to look at the what? The component yourself. It's not just like this is faulty, this is that. Now you cannot even give it a trial. Don't do that. So we also have what we call BIOS or UEFI. The BIOS we know is what? Basic input output operation, and the UEFI is the what? Unified extensible firmware interface. So these are what? Two things that works together, not two things that work together. Actually, BIOS, they are mostly found in a lower version system, more especially the older version of desktop computers. Though in laptop computers also we have them in this Pentium 4 and what have you. That's where you are going to find BIOS. And mostly in BIOS you cannot operate with your what? With your mouse. You can only work with keyboard and what have you. So all these boot order and what have you can be done in a BIOS or UEFI. So why the UEFI? We know that it's a unified extensible firmware interface. So what is those also is the same thing as BIOS, but they are mostly found in what? In the new in the what? Modern version of our system, like the generations system we are having. So in this UEFI like BIOS type, so you can be able to use a support of what? Of a mouse. That is why they call there is interface there. So it can also perform same functions that BIOS perform. So you also need to go there and check properly. That is, you assess your system information, you run your diagnostic checkup, you test the RAM, you test the what? You test the RAM, you also test the hard disk and all sort of the peripheral devices that attach to that one. You can be able to test them. You can configure the hardware settings right from your UEFI or your BIOS setting. So this is the second among the diagnostic tools and then the techniques you are going to apply. The third one is the device manager. This device manager BIOS slash UEFI. This is device manager. This device manager is a very, very, very strong utility software tools that you can use to manage way and manners in which your system devices work. So to access this file manager, first of all, you can use a shortcut key of if you don't want to go to start menu and you look for system tools, you now look for your device manager. You can just go to your computer. You right click on your computer, you click on manage. So while clicking on manage, you can be able to access your device manager. So this enables you to view and manage hardware resources or hardware devices, drivers, and their status on your system. Most of the time, I use this device manager in order to upgrade or update my hardware devices or peripheral devices attached to the system. Like say you are having issues with your internet connections, maybe probably it's an outdated port or outdated driver that is installed on the port. So you can go to your device manager, look for your internet, or if it's a wireless, look for the wireless or any available or any issue related to your problem. Just right click on it, say update driver. It will update it, but it will update it in a two-way. There is an update locally, there is update online. So usually select update online, because if it is a locally, at a point in time, the system will request for update. So, but if it is online, you need to specify it is online and make sure you are connected to the internet in order for you to update this very these very devices or drivers. So that's how you go about your device manager. So we also have event viewer. We also have event viewer, event viewer. So in the event viewer, this one enables you to analyze, or it allows you to analyze the system logs for error messages and warning. So once you go to your what? This very event manager, it allows you to see what types of errors have you been encountering that you did not pay attention during your what operations with the system. You can get that by just typing, if you're using modern system, just type event manager or monitor. You can be able to go there, you just monitor your system, which one develop issue, which one drop issue, which one you are about to work with. They are just there. You can be able to what work with this. So we also have a task manager. So this task manager monitor your what your activities on the system. So all the system, all the manager, all the applications you have opened, so it's being managed by this task manager. So that is why sometimes you can see your system might freeze. If your system freeze, that very particular problem that caused your system to freeze, you can go to your task manager and then end that very particular application or that very task. To go to your task manager is simple. You can just use your shortcut key by pressing Control Alt and Delete. Then it will now bring a list of options from what switch. From after switch, you can what be able to see your task manager on that. We have log tool, we have shutdown, and we have many things. I cannot remember them, but once you what press this your alt Control Alt and Delete, you can be able to navigate to your task manager. You can see the tasks, the events are also there too. So you can now click on the task manager or the taxes. You look at the systems that are running, systems that are not running. Those that are not running, you can end them or restart them as well. So we also have, the next is what? System file check, or what we call SFC. So in a system files check, you can be able to scan and repair a corrupt file. System file check. In this system file check, you can be able to run, or you scan and run what errors. So, but in this system file check, most of the time we have more of these online tools that you can use for that. But sometimes advanced antivirus also give support for that, so you can use it. So the third one is what? The third-party diagnostic tools, which you can use to utilize software for in-depth hardware insight or hardware analysis. So these what are the diagnostic tools and techniques that you can be able to perform in order to make your system up to date, to make your system performing without any difficulties or hitches. So the next one we are going to look at here is what? Preventive maintenance. We mentioned preventive and corrective maintenance in the first place, but in the preventive maintenance, we are going to look at these techniques. How are you going to prevent your system from damaging? That's one. You let your system to be what? To be up to date. That's always your system should be up to date. You should what? Your system should clean. Uh, Clean your system all the time. Then the second one, after you keep your system clean, you now update your drivers. Update drivers. So in updating these drivers, we have discussed that you can go to what? You can go to device managers and then update those drivers. You can also use monitor temperature. That's the temperature of your system. Monitor temperature. So you can also be able to monitor temperature of your system. You should not let your system to what? Overheat. So you can also run a regular backup. Run regular backup. So it should be, your system should always be what? Be backing, you should always be backing up your files and your all your activities on the system. You should not just let your system to be just the way it is without a backup. So you also need to what? To be continuous or effectively utilize this, defragment your hard drive. So defragment hard drive, always defragment your hard drive. So what it means by if you have a defragmented files, that the nature in which you access your files frequently, some of the files have been fractions, like they've been splitted into what? Different storage location. So what they are saying in essence here, you should what? Be practicing defragmenting if you have any fragmented file. And this can be done by just, you go to your start menu, you look for the system tools, you look for accessories, system tools, then you now see this defragment drive, or you just go to your start and type defragment. So this will also allows your system to be optimized. So if you, while there, you can see from the dashboard there whether the analysis is 0 or there is a percentage of fragmented files. You can be able to optimize and then fragment it, defragment it. So the total, the sixth one is here. You protect your system from what? From malware. Protect your system from malware. That's from virus and what have you. So make sure that your system is free from virus. You have a strong antivirus to protect your system from any malware viruses or viruses. So that's how you go about what? About protecting your system in order for you to have what? To have a good system, or to what? Prevent your system from developing problem. You prevent your system from, or prevent yourself from conducting troubleshooting. You can only stop at preventive measures without going into what? Corrective measures. So we also have these hardware upgrades. What do you need to what? Upgrade? So all these components we have been mentioning, please, you can upgrade them. All these hardwares that we have been mentioning, ranging from RAM, from hard drive or SSD, from graphic card, from the CPU, from the motherboard, all these sort of components, please, you can be able to what? Upgrade them. These are hardware upgrade. Upgrading, it means you have a lower version of RAM, maybe 512 gigabyte of RAM. So you can change it to make it 1 terabyte of RAM, or you can change it to make it from 512, you have another additional 512 to make it 1000 plus. So you can all the time make these upgrade. Maybe your hard drive is also 256 gigabyte, so you can go and look for that of 512 gigabyte, or you can look that of terabyte in order to enhance the performance of your system. The same thing with graphic card. Your graphic card might have problem. The same thing with your sound card. Your sound card of a system can have problem. If you cannot be able to lose it, you can just buy a simple sound card from any accessories shop and now fix it. You can be using that sound card in order to listen whatever you want to listen from your device and what have you. So the last thing we are going to look in this session today is what? The precautionary measures. The precautionary measures here in performing all these things we have mentioned is: 1, you should power off and unplug your system. So always make sure that your system is being unplugged from the power for you to start losing the system. So, and also you make sure that you're on your you're not on your barefooted, you wear shoe before you lose this system. And then the second one, we said you should ground yourself. Grounding yourself here is that you should not just start losing the system on top like this. you need to put it somewhere on ground or on a desk, then you will now lose it there. This will help you to what? Prevent damaging your component, because once it fell down, it means going to what? They scattered, or the screwdriver or the screws can what? Get lost if you are now standing while working. So you need to what? To ground yourself. Are we together? So we also handle the component with care. We should not what? Handle our this thing carelessly. So thereby avoiding touching sensitive areas, like for the what? For the RAM, you should not what? Be touching the chips there. You can get a cotton or a paper in order to hold your RAM and what have you. So all those sensitive areas on your component, you should avoid touching them. So you work in a well-lit areas. Well-lit areas ensure that adequate lighting are there for you to work. You should not work inside dark. So adequate illumination should be provided for you to work. So also you should consult manuals and documentation. That is why in the first instance we said, or the steps in what? In troubleshooting, or the last step in troubleshooting, we said you should what? Document all the process you have taken place, or all what it takes for you to what? Troubleshoot that very particular system. So because in a part of precautionary measures, you should what? Revisit any documentation or journals you made in the course of troubleshooting your day-to-day troubleshooting equipment. So we also have a best practice of hardware maintenance. This one is just you need to what? To establish a regular scheduler. That means you should what? Be what? Maintaining your system regularly. It's just like a normal car. You cannot just wake up and then put a key on a car and just start moving. You need to look for what? The proper water level, proper engine oil, and what have you. The gauging in what? In all the photos and what have you. So you also need to to back up your data frequently. You need to perform or document maintenance activities that you what? Take place in this. So going by this, we come to the end of this program session. What we need to be doing, like in our system, we are advised to keep our system clean, right? So our system, for us to keep it clean, we need to what? Turn it off, unplug the system from this. We can apply a blower or air compressor, but you cannot bring it on top of the chips. You just take it a little bit outside, then you blow the area. Make sure that the system is always clean, the exterior is clean, the interior you can clean it from outside using the blower and what have you. So, in conclusion, our troubleshooting and maintenance of computer hardware is an ongoing process. It's not something that you can just do and leave it there. Whether you understand this thing or you did not understand this common problem, you must now go and understand them. Else you will be what? Spending money day to day in your day-to-day activities with or interaction with the system. So you need to what? To go back, learn those things, know them. Once there is any sign, you now be able to what? To rectify this problem and fix them yourself before it being escalated to what? To see an engineer. Thank you for being with me this moment. Remain blessed.